So I'm doing my project, as you know, about sports enhancement drugs in swimming.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
I've
in
done...
swimming, particularly.
Yeah, particularly in swimming.
Yeah.
Just run me through everything you know about it. I'll ask questions based on what you know.
Yeah. So stop me. Yeah, because there's all sorts of categories, right? So I could talk
Yeah.
about... I competed in an era when there was quite well known now drug enhancement. So I swam against the East Germans.
Yeah.
So before the Berlin Wall came down, there was East and West Germany, and the East Germans had a state-sponsored program. And so in the Olympics I was in, the women, particularly East German women, because testosterone, an anabolic steroid, made women bigger and stronger. It makes men bigger and stronger, but it had a massive difference on women because they were competing against Western, American, British women who weren't taking drugs. And so they were more like men, and they had deep voices, and you could see they were like hair on their top lips and stuff. Not a lot, but like a fuzz. And so you knew that they were on drugs. And then in my race, in the Olympic final, I won, as you know, in 1988. But there's an East German in the race, there's a Russian in the race, and a few others. And about 10 years later, my coach was at a coaching conference, and it was a German coach who said they were surprised. He said, we were surprised that Moorhouse won the race. That's me.
Yeah.
Because we knew that at least 6 out of the 8 swimmers were taking drugs.
Really?
Yeah. So that was quite interesting. And then the other thing that happened, I swam in a competition the year afterwards in Monaco. By this point, because they didn't have drug testing at certain competitions, they only did it at the big competitions. The first time I encountered drug testing was 1984 Olympics.
Okay. That's
the first time I started getting tested. And effectively it was a P test, right? So you finish your race, and they picked 2 swimmers randomly out of the 8, chose them out of a hat, and you had to go to a room, report to a room straight away after the medal presentation. You had to pee in a cup, and somebody watched you peeing, right? So you couldn't go in the toilet by yourself. They had to watch the wee coming out of your willy.
Okay.
So that was quite interesting. So you had to stand, somebody stood there watching you pee.
Wow, yeah.
And of course, because you were a bit dehydrated after you swum, and sometimes you couldn't go to the toilet, so you sit in this room drinking water or fizzy drinks. They had drinks in the fridge, and so you could go. It took me about 2 hours to go after I'd won the Olympics. Yeah, so I couldn't see Mum and Dad for about 2 hours after I'd won the Olympics. Got my medal, then went to the drug testing room, and had to wait till I could pee so I could get out.
Yeah.
But now going back to that Monaco competition, so 1989. Even though it was drug testing at the big competitions, they didn't have it at some of the small competitions.
Yeah.
Monaco was considered a small competition. So we swam in the heats, in the prelims, and then you qualify for finals. So we qualified for heats, and then when we qualified for finals, 2 swimmers had pulled out in between the morning heats and the finals in the afternoon. It was an East German swimmer and a Russian swimmer. And they said the East German swimmer had family problems and the Russian swimmer had an injury or had a cold. And then, anyway, that evening before I went to swim my final, I saw the Russian swimmer, and he was in the showers. And I said, "You haven't got a cold." And he laughed at me and said, "Well, my manager told me to say I had a cold." So he pulled out because they said there was going to be drug testing in the finals. And they never did that before, right? So this out of the big competitions.
Oh, yeah.
So that's confusing. I don't know if that's confusing, but basically, the Olympics, the big ones, that story I told you about after the Olympics, they tested you from 1984 to 1988. But the small competitions, they were a bit slow at testing. And so this competition in Monaco was quite well known for not testing people.
Yeah.
But then they introduced it in between heats and finals. So 2 swimmers pulled out and said they got problems and they couldn't swim. Okay. Basically, they didn't want to be tested. So that's some stuff about racing.
In what competitions nowadays do they test for drugs? Like drug use?
National competitions.
So
national competitions.
So in county competitions they don't?
No. But what they do, so that's the Swimming Federation would test only national and above. But what the Sports Council is a council that looks after all the sports. Okay, it's a national English governing body called the UK Sports Council.
Yeah.
And they have a drug testing program. And what they're able to do, and they're allowed to do, they call it out of competition testing. And so what they do is they just randomly pick sports and people, and they give you a phone call the night before they're coming to your house. And they come to your house the day after they've phoned you, and they test you. So they give you 1 day notice.
Okay.
And so that happens to all the swimmers out of competition. So but they test you at the nationals, they test you at competitions, but they have also out of competition testing, and that's quite important because, of course, if you know you're going to be tested at a competition, a lot of people that are cheating just don't go to that competition.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So what happens is the Sports Council try and catch you in your training environment, and they can do that once you become an athlete. It's called a national program. You get funding from the government. So the Sports Council give you funding. They fund you. They give you money to be in it. Once you get to a certain level, they'll give you a grant to help you with your training.
Okay.
So this national governing body, the UK Sports Council, I don't know how much they give, Tom. They might give like £15,000, £20,000 a year, so that if you're really highly ranked in Britain, you get the chance without financial pressure to try and train and compete. And what they say is, because we give you that money and we fund you, we sponsor you as a national governing body, you have to sign up to be part of the out-of-competition testing. So you have to agree that they can phone you with 24 hours notice and turn up wherever you are. And if you leave home to go training, say, in America or go training somewhere else, you have to tell them when you're going and where you're going.
Wow.
Yeah, so they can come and get you. And I got tested, Tom. We were on a training camp in France, in the south of France, in Marseille, before a big championships. And we got a phone call the night before with a British training team. And we got a phone call and we were told that 10 of us had been picked. And they were turning up the next day. So they even came to Marseille, to France. The British drug testers came to France to test us.
Oh, wow.
So if you disappear then, they know you're probably... If you avoid actually avoiding drug tests is also, you can avoid 3, and if you've done 3, they can ban you. So basically, they're out of competition testing. You can say, "Oh, I didn't get the phone call," or you can say, "Oh, yeah, no, I said I was going to be at home, but I was in my girlfriend's in France." You can, if you miss 3 in a row, it's the equivalent of you being banned because they think you're cheating, which you probably are.
Okay, so the out of competition testing.
Yeah.
They don't do that to county level swimmers, right?
No, they do it to people who are sort of nationally recognised. I don't know, Tom, at the moment. I can try and find out what level it's up to, but it's probably, I don't know, top 15 in the country in each event, maybe.
Okay, because
not much more than that. So you've got to be pretty good.
The storyline of my character, he's a county level swimmer.
Okay, so, and the storyline, so what's interesting for a county level swimmer, right? So let's just talk about great research about national East Germans and all that sort of stuff. That's when you get to a very international level. But if you go to county level, what might happen there, and I've seen it happen before, particularly in Britain, it's not very well, there's no national corrupt program where there's nobody saying you take steroids or whatever. The way that somebody in a county might come across drugs is in a gym. So they might go train at a gym, like to do, I think you've talked to me about this before.
Yeah, that's what my character's gonna.
Yeah. Well, it was true. So I'll tell you an example. So at Leeds, when I trained at Leeds, forget the British team. So I'm training at Leeds, and maybe there's 4 of us on the British team, so we will have that exposure to drug testing.
Yeah.
But because there were kids that were county level and weren't as good as those international guys, we were still trained in the same team, in the same squad. But we had a gym in the pool, but there's also some of the kids went to a bodybuilding gym in Leeds.
Okay, yeah.
And one of them said they'd been approached by a guy offering him anabolic steroids. Because that's where, more gym users rather than just for bodybuilding.
Yeah.
There's a little bit more, they get access to drugs, whereas swimming coaches are very rarely bent. So the swimming coach would not be aware of it. Very, very few swimming coaches said to their kids at a club level, "Hey, take these drugs." In fact, I've heard of one ever, sort of in Britain. But what happens is the swimming coach doesn't know. So imagine Alex at Maidenhead.
Yeah.
He's coaching you, you're in the squad, say you get to county level, and then all of a sudden you start getting stronger. and Alex because you've been training in the gym round the corner in Maidenhead, and some guys offered you a bodybuilder said, hey, you can get stronger as a swimmer. How about you take some of these steroids? I can get some for you.
Yeah.
And then you start taking them. And Alex goes, oh, well, Tom's got stronger all of a sudden. But you might not know why. So the coach, part of this storyline is that sometimes the swimming coaches don't know why. But this is very, very rare, right? This because of the British system. So if you were taking drugs, for instance, and you qualify for nationals, you probably get caught.
Yeah.
Because you start getting involved in this outer drug testing program. So as you get, what an interesting part of the storyline might be, is if you start getting better. So your county level, you've kind of Summit County, and then you go to a gym. Alex, your coach, doesn't know about it. He knows you're going to the gym because you're trying to get stronger.
Yeah.
You get offered some drugs by somebody. You start taking them. You start winning some races, and you qualify for nationals. That could be really interesting. So then you qualify for nationals because you've got better.
Yeah.
And then you kind of start to get worried because actually when you go to nationals, you know that you might get listed because you're becoming better as one of these kids that can be gotten out of competition testing.
Yeah.
So it's almost like this interesting balance of you want to take the drugs to get better. But as you get better, you bump into the national program, and the national program is more set up to catch people. You see what I mean?
Yeah, I think that's a good idea for the storyline. Like maybe...
I think so, because,
because otherwise then there wouldn't be as much, like, pressure on him to, stop taking them. Because, that's what I was thinking. So let's move on to the drug side of things. What do you know about these drugs and what they do? Like anabolic steroids?
Not a lot, although I've heard of, everyone's heard of roid rage, right?
Yeah.
So you've heard of that,
Yeah.
Basically, your behaviour would change. So you might get more angry towards your girlfriend or your parents, and you might get a lot more spots, for sure. So I know about that. So I know about the acne. You get more acne on your back and on your face. You get very angry at roid rage, and you start to... So good scenes would be when you fall out with your girlfriend over nothing sort of thing.
Yeah.
Because you start snapping and become a bit more... not unhinged, as it were. So more, That's steroids, right?
Yeah.
So I know that much.
Okay.
I don't know much more because I've never taken them. I've never known anybody take them. I've heard of it.
So, what would the punishments be for using them?
Lifetime ban.
In competition?
In competition.
Any competition?
And you... Yeah, and certainly in the Olympics. I mean, they've changed it recently. I think you can find this out with Google it. I don't know, so I think you can Google it. But when I was I was on the Olympic Athletes Commission.
Yeah.
So I was somebody who represented athletes at the Olympic level, British Olympic level. So I sat on the British Olympic Association's Athletes Commission. It's almost like a union for athletes.
Okay.
And we put a rule in 1992. We made a rule based on what the athletes wanted, that if anybody got caught, they could never compete in the Olympics again.
Okay.
And our British Olympic Association accepted that as a rule. Now, what's happened since, though, somebody's decided and they fought the case, and I think they won it in court, which was they said, you can't stop somebody for life. You've got to be able to give them a second chance.
Okay.
So there's been a big debate about second chances.
Yeah.
Which I don't approve of. I think if you knowingly take an anabolic steroid, you should never be allowed to compete in the Olympics again.
How about if
so many people?
How about if what happened in Germany and China? How if your coach is mixing in with your vitamins and then.
Yeah. No, that's an interesting one. But to be honest with you, the Russian Federation, even if you're a clean athlete in Russia now, you can't swim in the Olympics because the coaches have ruined it for everybody.
Oh.
So Russia itself is banned from the Olympics, let alone... So if your coach made you, you've got to have a very good case. I think there are cases, actually, secondary cases of people getting a second chance in that. And this is not necessarily Olympics, but to compete for their country. Yeah. I think it's a 4-year ban. I think there's... you need to Google a guy called Sun Yang. This will help you a lot. Sun Yang is a Chinese swimmer. He's an Olympic champion. and he so he won the Olympics, and he got banned for I think he got banned for taking a drug, steroid, and I think he got banned for avoiding drug tests. And he's been fighting the comeback. And he's trying to make it back into the next Olympics. So he was Olympic champion, I think, in 2016. He wasn't able to do Tokyo, and he's trying to get back for the next one. Google him, because that will say... Yeah, so Sun Yang is currently serving a ban. He's a swimmer, world champion, Olympic champion. And he won by miles, like the 1500. But he's fighting this ban, and he's been fighting it for a while now, and he's hoping to make it back in time for the Olympics, which next year in Paris.
Okay.
So that will tell you the information in terms of just what the current rule is. I think it's gone down to 4 years. I think it's like a 4-year ban.
All right, and then if they take it again after the 4-year ban, they get found again for taking it after coming back into that competition.
I think that's lifetime. I think that's lifetime then. There's a girl called Efimova as well. I don't know if you're interested in the big swimmers, the most Yulia Efimova. She's a Russian swimmer, and she was caught and she came back. And what's interesting, she was banned. So I think she won the Olympics or was world record holder. She got banned and she made a comeback and she made it back for the Rio Olympics. So she swam in the Rio Olympics, having had a drug ban, made a comeback. And during the Olympics, when she stood on the block to race, the crowd booed her. The whole crowd booed her.
Wow.
I know. Even though she served her ban, and even though she was racing again, because we would say that the benefits of a steroid stay in your system. It's almost like you've benefited from being stronger. So, you're still racing. So she was booed in Rio.
To be honest, I think that all checks out.
Yeah?
Yeah,
I think that storyline of the club athlete doing that, the club athlete sort of getting good because of taking them, and then making it through to nationals, and then realising he's going to get tested when he goes to nationals. Yeah,
I think I might add that into my storyline.
Because then you've got a little bit of tension between him and his coach, haven't you? Because his coach you can imagine the coach wants him to do, hey, you're doing really well, you're getting really good, you've got a chance to get a medal at nationals. He's going, oh yeah, but I'm not sure if I go and I win a medal, if I get a drug test, they'll find me out, sort of thing. So it's really interesting. But his coach will go, what do you mean you don't want to go? But you won't tell the coach why he doesn't want to go.
Yeah.
Or some version of that.
Yeah, okay. I think that would be really helpful, that was.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, so I think...
Cool.
Yeah, I think that's all good now.
Nice.
Thank you very much.
Very good, mate. Okay.